Now, our first guest of the evening is the author of this book right here.
That's right.
It's called Just Your Average Muslim, a humorous yet passionate message which attempts to serve as an antidote to common and exhausted stereotypes.
That's right. We're very pleased to have its author with us tonight. Please welcome to Living the Life, Zia Chaudhry. Assalamu alaikum.
Zia, how are you this evening?
Very well, thank you.
I mentioned the cover. I think we managed to get a close-up of that cover there because you're from Liverpool, and if I'm not mistaken, is that a Liverpool kit you're wearing?
Yes, it's a Liverpool jersey.
And are all three of these images you?
Yes.
Because it's a very interesting, it's quite an intriguing cover. So you've got a barrister, an image of a barrister, question mark, an image of a guy wearing a thobe, an image of a guy wearing a football kit. What is it that you were trying to get across with that cover?
Really trying to pose the question that what is a Muslim supposed to look like? Because this first guy who's dressed as a barrister, well, in fact, he's a Muslim as well. That just happens to be his day job.
Yeah.
The middle image is the more obvious what we'd expect a Muslim to be wearing, Arabic type dress, a turban, that kind of attire. And the third guy has got a football kit on, a Liverpool football kit on. But as it happens, people do support Liverpool, Muslims support Liverpool, and Muslims play for Liverpool.
Yeah.
So if you were to see this guy in a football kit, is he any less Muslim than the guy wearing the
thobe?
with the thobe?
And of course, one of those figures there is a barrister. You, of course, yourself are a barrister. How important was your experience as a barrister when you came up with the idea of this book?
Over the years, one of the things that being a barrister has helped me to do is speak to non-Muslims. Because obviously our day job entails establishing a rapport with the jury.
Yeah.
And if you can persuade a jury, and some people have got it, some people haven't, I found after a while that I seem to be quite good at that part of the job, persuading. But then you think, well, maybe there's a more important cause that I could use this ability towards. And I thought, well, given what's being said about Islam and Muslims every single day, maybe there's a need for spokespeople, maybe there's a need to persuade and to get our message across in a more articulate way. And so that's what I started to do, and found that I could do that in relation to non-Muslims especially. And then you get to a stage where you think maybe there's another level now. And so maybe that you can put those experiences into a book where you're addressing Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah. I mean, without wanting to upset anybody up north, my experience is when you get really above Birmingham is that you do have quite segregated communities, which we don't really have down here so much in the south. In London, we don't really have any area of London that I could say is a segregated Muslim community. I'm sure there are small pockets of it, but not like this type of things I've witnessed in other areas up north. Do you think your book is aimed at Muslims, or is it aimed at non-Muslims? Is it saying to Muslims, we have to reach out and show people our different identities? Or is it saying to non-Muslims looking at us, we have different identities?
I think from the outset I was clear that I wanted to address both audiences. And so there's parts of the book where I will be quite critical of ourselves and say, look, we need to look at ourselves because there's things that we can do better. This simply isn't good enough at the moment. And we can't just point the finger at others and blame them all the time. It's not healthy. It's not what Islam's all about. But at the same time, there are occasions when, to be fair, Muslims have got a valid point. And that point needs to be articulated. And non-Muslims need to understand where we're coming from. And so there are parts of the book where I say, you may think, for example, that Muslims are always angry. Well, have you considered this? And then go through a whole host of scenarios where I try and explain why in certain situations they've got every right to be angry.
Yeah. I mean, this book itself started out as a project for your children.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible. How did it then transform into what it is now?
I never thought I'd be able to write a book. And people had suggested, why don't you write a book? And I thought, what have I possibly got to say? And then once I started thinking that I've been very fortunate in the way I've grown up, in that it hasn't been uncomfortable for me to be a Muslim. But I thought my children might not have the same experience. Circumstances may change. They might find it hard going. Is there any way I can assist them? Now, ideally, you'd like to be there and provide the guidance in person, but there's no guarantees of that. So I thought, well, if I put something in writing, that's going to stay beyond me, and that might help them. And once I started writing it, though, that's when I realized that, there's a lot to be said, and there's a huge audience for this. Only recently I was having this discussion with people, and the point we made was that is there any more important global issue than the future of Islam, aside from climate change? I mean, I think they're the two most important.
If you look through any newspaper these days and you look at the geopolitical issues, somehow, one way or another, Islam is brought into it, isn't it? Whether it's because it's Muslim countries or Muslim issues, every single day in the newspaper. And I remember growing up here in the UK when you'd get excited if there was even a mention of Islam. There was no mention of it. It was invisible. And now it's something that we just take for granted that every single day. I mean, just today we're hearing about the security services talking about plots and Muslims involved in plots. This stuff is going on all the time. You didn't hold back with your titles, did you? I was looking, chapter 4, have Muslims always been thick? Or number 5, or in need of anger management. I mean, are you looking to provoke? Are you looking to, is it tongue-in-cheek?
It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, and there is an element of provocation there, because clearly you want somebody to read the chapter, you want somebody to read the book.
Yeah, I want to read that now, I have to say. Yeah.
And for example, have Muslims always been thick? The sad fact is that there is this perception out there that, well, what have Muslims ever invented?
Yeah.
You know, we've never heard of them in any sense of achievement being portrayed on the news, and therefore the negative stories must have a foundation. So because we've been kept from that chapter of Islamic history, which we know lasted for centuries, it wasn't flash in the pan, it wasn't 25 years, it was centuries, but people don't know that. The sad fact is Muslims don't know that. And so again, that chapter, although the title might be provocative, it's actually focused at both the audiences.
Right. Well, we did mention in the intro that in your synopsis it actually says it's a humorous yet passionate message that you're trying to get across. So humour is very important.
As is the passion, because you know, I think that again, that if I can motivate one person to think about their Islam in a different way and think, well, maybe I was going through the rituals without really understanding them, and maybe I need to apply myself to this, because the reality for me is that Islam isn't about just rituals. There's world problems that Islam was sent along to solve. And right now, if you look at the world economy is on its knees because of a system that's the complete opposite of what Islam would say.
Yeah,
now,
very
if that
true.
isn't an opportunity for Muslims to say, hang on, there's something we can contribute here, well then, we really are.
Well, I think that's very intriguing. You certainly got me curious now. We're going to come back and speak to you in a little while, but I think we're going to be going to our first break.
Yes, ladies and gents, boys and girls, it's time to grab a quick cuppa because we're going over to a break.
That's right. We're back in just a few minutes. See you shortly.